Well, all right, let's go. Welcome to the Starting Over podcast training series. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. In this episode, we are going to be looking at poison. Poison is a power that, to most people, hit its apex during the Lockjaw, Armor Piercing, Mastermind Poison era, aka LAMP, which was done by a Wizard World Champion. But unfortunately, in the modern age, without armor piercing, poison isn't as potent as it once was. Now, with that being said, that does not mean that poison does not have a place in the modern meta. To the contrary, it has an essential part in the modern game to make sure that the game does not devolve into just purely a range game. All right, so let's get into it. Let's read Poison. Poison. At the beginning of your turn, give this character a free action and deal 1 damage to each adjacent opposing character. Now, what does this really do in practice? Let's say you have Joker. He has Mastermind and Poison. He waddles up with a Joker thug and a hired henchman next to him, and he plops down against a lovely Batman that has nothing but combat reflexes. Okay, so Batman might be stealth. Joker can't do any ranged combat attacks against Batman. But since Batman doesn't have leap climb, he's going to have to roll breakaway to get away from the Joker. Because at the beginning of the Joker's next turn, Batman's going to take one damage. Now, if Batman had toughness, Batman wouldn't have to fear the Joker gas. But without toughness or any other form of damage reduction, poison all of a sudden becomes very, very dangerous because it's 1 damage that you don't have to roll for. Now, poison's role in this game is very unique because poison is the only offensive power, and I say it in the sense of that it doesn't have any secondary kickback to you, okay? It is the only damaging power that you do not have to roll for. And you're going to say, well, still energy. No, still energy heals you. Still energy has a kickback. It's just a positive kickback for you. Okay. So you don't have to roll for it. Every other damage power in the game, every other damage effect, you have to roll for. Rolling of dice happens. Okay. Even with mystics, your opponent hits you. They roll dice. They take damage. Dice rolling has happened. Poison, no dice rolling happens. Okay. So, what's so cool about poison? Well, first off, it allows you to get that 1 damage in, which can change the game at the beginning of the turn. The next thing that poison allows you to do is that it can, in the right situations, you are either forcing a push for a figure to get away, or you're forcing your opponent to sit there and take 1 damage. Now, let's take, for example, you have a figure, and they have 1 token. Your opposing figure has 1 token, willpower, no damage reduction. And, hey, Joker waddles up again with his posse. So now the opponent has to decide, like, okay, do I want to, I can roll to break away, and if I do break away, I'm going to have 2 tokens. But the Joker can still, just push and waddle up again, and he'll still have poison. So, well, is it even worth it? Do you try to hit that poison figure? So now poison forces your opponent to decide if they're going to actually do a attack against you. Okay? And try to see if they can knock you off of poison. Another great advantage with poison is when you're able to position, if played enough at a venue, and you have really good positioning with poison, you are going to, and this is ridiculous, start forcing people to bring damage reduction. People are going to bring less and less and less energy shield deflections, combat reflexes. Also, poison is a great way of dealing with stealth figures that don't have damage reduction. You can't target them, that's fine. You are dealing damage to them. You can, the following turn, do a melee attack. But as it stands, you can consistently do damage. So, how do we maximize poison? Well, one of the easiest ways, since poison happens at the beginning of your turn, you can use Outwit. Outwit can also is a free action that can happen during any phase of the game. So if your opponent doesn't have a team ability or a feat or a relic that stops them from being outwitted, or a resource dial, or a vehicle, or whatever else, then you can outwit that figure's damage reduction and deal 1 damage to that opposing figure. Another thing is that, let's say you are surrounded by opposing figures. The Joker waddles in, but Batman comes in, Robin comes in, and Batwoman comes in. Well, if they don't have damage reduction, they might have tried to swing, but they missed on the Joker. The beginning of his turn, he's going to do 1 damage to all of them. One key thing that I will say about poison that is essential is that you're going to need transportation for your poison person, and you're going to need some form of damage mitigation. That damage mitigation is essential, because you have to realize that once you're there, then that's pretty much it. You won't be able to do much else. They're going to be able to do a melee attack against you if you're not stealth, or they're going to be able to shoot you. So there's pretty much, you're going to need some defensive option. Mastermind is the most commonly used, but unfortunately, without making sure that you can't be outwitted, Mastermind is actually like really risky. And whatever your Mastermind fodder is, if you're able to block line of sight to the outwitter, that's one thing. But if the target that you're going after has outwit or gets outwit after you do the poison, then yeah, it's going to be a bit of a problem. So the main thing that you probably want to consider in your loadout when using poison is incapacitate. Incapacitate can make it so that the target that you're going after cannot attack you, or is forced to push, so that you can pursue and really make it easier for you to get those poison attacks off. Well, not attacks, those poison effects off really easily. And it's one of those situations where with incapacitate, you can go cheap or moderately priced and still come out ahead. You can have incapacitate with a taxi, or incapacitate just another ranged attacker to follow up when needed, and you can design it however you want. But I think incapacitate is one of the best powers to combine with poison. Just flat out, it's just the best. Another power that can be used with it can be used with incapacitate. I mean, sorry, not incapacitate, with poison, but you'll have limited effects, is barrier. And the main reason you would use barrier is just to make sure that your opponent can't get line of sight on you, but also making it a lot more difficult for your opponent to break away their figure. So you can use barrier, but it can be a mixed bag. It's not as good as incapacitate. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, in this training part with poison, what I want you to do is I want you to have pick two figures with poison and then have some delivery method. Now you can use incapacitate or barrier on this team or not, that's fine. And we're going to shoot for around 400 points just so that we can get flexible with it since we are going to have two poison figures, okay? And then what I really want you to do is just spend some time seeing, hey, I use poison. What were my benefits? What were the things that were really, setting me back? And note what your biggest problems were. Was your problem getting into position? Was your problem, staying in there and surviving? Was your problem something along the lines of, you just didn't have the proper, mitigation for that figure. Okay, so think about those things, and I'll see you in the next video.